Northern Kentucky is a good team and put together and has some good players. I thought that we didn't do a great job, obviously, of finding the shooter and executing our game plan. We knew McDowell was a load, so we wanted to get the ball out of his hands. But with Murray, it's a simple thing. He shoots threes. That's all he does. And all we got to do is make him bounce the basketball. That's the whole scouting report, is just make him bounce the basketball, and we can carry that out. So either I'm not clear enough in my statement of what I'm saying to the team as far as like following the scouting report, or they're not doing it. We got to figure that out. Then there was a couple times there that Holland, just at the end of the shot clock, same thing, we just got to make him bounce, and we can't give up a three. I think he had 3 threes with 5 seconds or less left on the shot clock. So, we've got to be better. And I think things started going downhill for us, and now we had a lot of opportunities at the free throw line, and we didn't take advantage of those opportunities. And when you're down, the only way to get back with the clock stop is to make your free throws.
You know, you mentioned that you kind of did lose him, and it seemed like on the fast break, kind of losing him in transition a lot of times was more so the issue. You know, talk to me about sort of when he caught fire. It seemed like just kind of they continued to kind of find him.
Well, it's easy to find them when you don't carry out your assignments. I mean, it started on the offensive end. The first key to transition defense is not turning the ball over and then not taking bad shots. So we had a rash of turning the ball over and taking bad shots. And so now that hurts our transition defense. But we call them safeties. When the shot goes up, their sole responsibility is to get back. And they weren't getting back. They were in the lane trying to get offensive rebounds, or just simply, you know, kind of out in the open lane. So I think that ignited the situation, but even at that, we got to scramble to him. If you want to leave somebody open, he obviously is not the person you want to leave open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coach, you guys are able to kind of get back into that though a little bit. I know obviously you dug yourselves a hole by allowing him. Do you seem like Danielson has really provided a pretty good spark off the bench there midway through the second half? You know, what did you kind of see there?
Well, Daniel's a guy that can produce for us. It's just got to be all the time for him, and he's got to give us something on the defensive end too. So he's one of those guys. I think Antonius Cleveland is another guy that's big and strong enough to get into the paint and draw contact and still be able to finish at the rim. Daniel provides that for us. But he's just got to know when to attack, when not to attack, when just to pass the basketball, and he's got to give us something on the defensive end. And so I think what you see is the fact that he can contribute to our team, but it's got to be all the time.
It seemed like finishing was kind of an issue with a lot of guys tonight, just kind of getting to the rim. There were opportunities there. What did you see there in terms of them attacking the basket?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, and there's nothing really we can do about that. You know, you get an opportunity to finish at the rim, you got to take advantage of that opportunity. And unfortunately, a lot of those, we forced 20 turnovers. We should have had a lot more points off those 20. I think we only had 6 fast break points, but we forced 20 turnovers. It just doesn't make any sense. So that means that we're not taking advantage of the opportunities and making smart, sound decisions when we have advantage basketball, whether it be 4-on-3, 3-on-2, or what have you.
Was it more so? Did you see? Was it kind of, were they being sort of tentative when they got those steals, or what was the issue there?
Well, I think it's 2 things. I think first of all, it's just the spacing. Our spacing is bad when we have advantage basketball. And the second thing is just quite simply, you know, not finishing at the rim.
You know, you kind of in the second half, it seemed like they were never really able to kind of close that gap at all. You know, what were they doing more so than kind of what you guys were doing?
Oh, I don't think they did anything to us. I mean, like, we missed free throws, we missed wide open shots, and we didn't finish at the rim. And then on the defensive end, I mean, we lost guys a couple times. So I don't think there's anything schematically that they did or X and O wise to hurt us.
You know, you did mention the free throw shooting. Is it just kind of a lull thing? Because you guys were shooting from the free throw line pretty well. It seems like last game you had a kind of a rough start to it, and then it seems like it just sort of got exacerbated this game. What did you kind of take away from that?
Well, I think we made our first 9.
Yeah, the first 9 we made.
And so if you look at that, so that means that we were, what, 10 of 26 from that point home? I mean, so To me, like, that's having the confidence to, like, when somebody else has missed some easy free throws, or, you know, you hear the crowd, oh, and now you got to have the mental fortitude to step up to the line and stop that. And so we've got to have that individually, of being able to go up when things are going bad and still knock down those free throws.
You know, rebounding is another big, you know, disparage here in this game. You know, what do you take away from those numbers, 40 to 27?
Well, they're averaging, I think, 14 offensive rebounds a game and leading their conference in rebounding margin. So it was, what, 40 to 27 rebound-wise. I would have to look at the defensive rebounding percentage, because to me that's the true measure of where you are. So, like, a lot of times you get out-rebounded, and it's because, like, you miss so many more shots than they did. So, but obviously that's disappointing, the fact that we gave up 9 offensive rebounds when we kind of, like, focused in on that, especially after the Missouri State game.
You guys have been doing really well with the assist turnover ratio too. You know, you probably just say this might be sort of a slip up. You know, 7 assists, 14 turnovers is not too good of a recipe for success. You know, where was that? You know, what led to that?
Well, we didn't pass the ball to each other. I mean, we just had so many guys that were attacking off the bounce, and all we had to do was just make a simple pass. But you know, our offense kind of got discombobulated because guys are trying to come back and be in attack mode. But we just dribbled the ball way too much, and that's why you have the bad assist to turnover ratio. It should be 2 to 1. It should be flipped around the other way, 14 assists, 7 turnovers.
Yeah. You know, I remember one point in the first half, you know, they kind of looked back at you for a turnover, and they just looked to you. You know, I think they were asking what play you were going to run off out of the inbound, and you just said pass and talk. Yeah. And you know, how big? You know, how much are you trying to get these guys to buy into that right now?
Well, I don't know for sure. I probably said pass and cut.
Pass and cut, yeah.
I mean, that's, that's pretty simple, like pass the ball to your teammate and then cut. And then the next person get the ball and pass and cut. What you want to do is you want to make the defense move from side to side to side. You're not going to break the defense down on the first pass. And I think what we do is we get it off the first pass, and we're trying to break the defense down on the first pass. I mean, if they're a good defensive team, they're not going to break down on the first side. We got to break them down on the third side. We got to break them down on the fourth side. So, you know, to me, like, there's no looking at me in that situation. All I want you to do is just pass the ball to your teammate, cut, and then, like, let's share the basketball, and good things will happen for us. I think we started off the game, you know, just throwing the ball inside the tray like 3 consecutive times, and he got scored or got fouled, and we went away from that simply because we just didn't throw the ball down there to him.
You know, get a week off here, Coach, before you guys head on this trip. You know, how important is it right now for you guys to get this full weekend before you do go into a tournament?
Well, the most important thing is for our guys to be where they need to be academically. So I want those guys to handle the academic obligations. We got to get some things right here with our team and on the basketball court, but that pales in comparison to our guys having success in the classroom.
It's finals weekend.
Yeah.
Great. Do you think a lot of that impatient basketball playing and just forcing things and not waiting for things to kind of come about has to do with the inexperience that you're experiencing with so many new guys this year? Oh
yeah, I think that plays a part in it too, and I think it's also every team fights that as far as like guys being afraid that they're not going to be able to get a touch again, so they got to take advantage of that opportunity, or you know, saying, hey, like, some guys are really competitive, but they show their competitiveness about like trying to score, and it's like, you know, there's other ways to show how competitive you are. And so that's not a bad thing, but it's just the right time to like try to compete in that. So, you know, I think that's part of it. But at the end of the day, like, guys got to see the success they have when they share the basketball. You play a team like Central Arkansas and you come away with, you know, I think we had 28 assists or something like that. You know, we got to make sure now that, like, hey, that's the way to win games, and that's the way to make us more effective, because, you know, when you're not shooting the basketball very well, like, people pack it in. And so when you get to basketball, there's nowhere to drive the basketball. So you got to pass the ball in order to get some driving lanes.
So later on down the road in this season, there's some things that are going well for your team, of forced turnovers and things like that. We're just not finishing, but where do you see this team in 2-3 weeks of successes?
Oh, I wish I could, you know, I had a crystal ball. I can tell you exactly where we're going to be at. But we determine our own fate. That's a beautiful thing about basketball and competitive sports. So, you know, like, no one else can determine what's going to happen with our team besides ourselves. And so that can be a good thing if you take onus of that and you take responsibility of your future, Or, you know, like you can say, hey, I hope this other team comes out and plays bad, or they don't bring the fire, and then we get a win. So, you know, to me, that's the great thing. We determine our own fate.
Can you update me on Dondre's injury? Where's he at?
He's still out at this point in time. He's going to have a surgery procedure on Monday to hopefully get that thing going and regenerate something. But we still won't know where he is after he has that shot for quite some time.
What's he battling with, and where do you foresee a certain time frame? Or?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you all the specific things, but it's too many big words for me, and I'm a math major, and so. But basically what's going on, he has a cartilage where his pelvic bone meets at, and the cartilage there is inflamed and it's giving him problems. So there's not much they can do about it but wait for it to heal. And so as long as it's not healed right now, it really hurts and bothers him and prevents his movement. So what they got to do is they're going to put a shot in there to hopefully start regenerating that cartilage in there. And once that cartilage starts regenerating and repair itself, then he'll be fine. But it's not just like rest. It's not healing, so they got to put some white blood cells in their stem cell and hopefully get it going.